surely I'm not a scholar either. So I'm none of those. But I was invited by some prominent scholars in entrepreneurship from my universities, including the dean, and also from INSEAD, to join a very large-scale research. This is a multi-year research project funded by the Ministry of Education to start to think about, what do you need to teach to focus on how to scale up. And the key intent here is how do you scale up entrepreneurs? And the second thing is aside from knowing what to teach, is how do you teach them? So it's a scary subject for me because I'm not an educator. I don't even understand what pedagogy stands for in the first place. Right? So I'm going to make an attempt to share with you the topic that I'm asked to speak, which is this quite relevant in entrepreneurship today, that you need to connect with the enterprises. You need to connect with the universities, or rather you need to connect with the industry to really think about what are the new things to teach and how do you really do that in a way where we can focus on one part of the entrepreneurship cycle, which is the scaling up part. Okay? Especially scaling up for early startup activities. Yeah, so that's the context of my conversation. The name of the project is called Startup Capabilities, meaning what are the capabilities that you need to develop, and how do you really design the learning and empowerment environment where these startups can truly scale up based on a very large scale randomized controlled design test across multiple years. Okay, is that fair? So there are a lot of the areas in the education side that I'm not familiar with, but I am forced to do some literature review at the start of the year. So let me just, a little bit about myself. I came from the industry. I decided that when I crossed my 60th birthday, I want to leave the corporate world to pursue something which I'm really passionate about, which is to start to think about how could I give back, to work on a topic which is relating to entrepreneurship, but focusing more so on the entrepreneurship at the bottom. You have to think about what are the new interventions that could help to foster social entrepreneurship at the bottom as a way to create lasting livelihood improvement. So the focus is what are the ideas, and I'm going to relate that to TU later on as well. That I think that's a very, very exciting stage, is how do we think about social entrepreneurship as a way to really to drive inclusion and sustainability, and as a way to use that as a way to build lasting livelihood improvement for people at the bottom. So I'm going to leverage my work in the last 5 years as a partner in a large private venture capital investment group. So I'm a practitioner by myself, meaning I put the money where my mouth is. So we have a fairly large portfolio of companies now, but we are publicity shy, meaning we don't talk about our investment. Within Singapore, we are among the largest in terms of investing in new startups across the region, including India and the US and Vietnam, especially in the emerging economies. Yeah, so part of my work in the last 5 years was to really to look at how do we, as investors, identify winners. That's the first thing. And second is once you have identified those winners, how do you build the winners? Okay? How do you really, I think, be able to build the winners and get a substantial return is really where the name of the game is when they talk about entrepreneurship. So I must say that in the patch of the companies that we have invested in, we're now close to about 60 companies. So we're now in the harvesting period. So it's very nice to see companies that you work with that are now exiting, okay, from an ideas to creating really, really very exciting business and get bought over or going on IPO. So it's a very nice thing to start to think about, harvesting some of the hard work that we put together. So my talk is really around shifting from developing winners, or rather, so on the VC side, we always say we work on the demand side of entrepreneurship. We look at identifying winners and we develop winners. That's the VCs invest in the investments where we create the demands for entrepreneurship. But on the educational side, we have to work on the reverse side of the coin, which is how do we build the supply side of winners? And so my work, so I've been asked on a clean sheet of paper to think about what would be the right intervention needed, and then how do we then design the intervention based on my conversation with the enterprises, based on my conversation with the industry. Right? And I'm going to go through some of those in a little while. And I think we all know that entrepreneurship goes through a life cycle. And within Singapore, I think it's consistent throughout the world as well, that if you look at the undergraduate students in top universities like University of Singapore, already ranked on the top 20, the Nanyang Technological Universities and my universities, they're all quite highly ranked. But for undergraduate students who decided to pursue their career, 97% of the people select themselves out. Right? So only a small percentage of the students select in to say, perhaps entrepreneurship is my journey. And so we already see a larger population. That's the dilemma for Singapore. Singapore creates some of the best students, and yet many people want to go into a safer job by working with larger companies. Those who are selecting in is a very small percentage. But however, for those people who have already selected in, the journey is a tough one. Only a very, very, very small amount, a small percentage of the people eventually make it. Yeah? And I have some data in Singapore, but I think I can show you a data from the US. It's the same thing. Right? Eventually, for those people who select in, and for those people who finally make it, it's a tough journey. So the emphasis is on how do we create not only the identifying winners, how do we build winners, meaning how do we develop more and more people who have selected in and make them more successful. So let's talk about the intent of the research studies. And we call this project scale. And the vision is to a couple of key tracks. The first is help Singapore. This is a Singapore Ministry of Education funded project. To the parameters that is only Singapore's. As I said, it's a fairly large research project, multi-year, multi-million-dollar projects here, multi-faculties as well, INSEAD, SMU, and also Babson College. And the intent is to say, is there a way to think about what are those targeted management training that are needed by evidence, based on my conversation with the players in the industry. And there are multiple pieces in there. Is peer learning important? Is mentoring and coaching important? And of course, is networking important? So those are some of the earlier research hypotheses that we're going to frame. And then the next piece is not only just knowing what and how to do it, how do you really truly test it out? And in this context here, we're going to do it based on a randomized controlled trial with a large sample size across multiple years. And I think this is the first time that this is going to be done, especially in the scale-up life cycle part of the entrepreneurship research. All right, so the research question is pretty straightforward. And this is where it is relating to this topic as well, is entrepreneurship and management training. And the research question is, does management training, which is strategies, and we've narrowed it down to two parts of management training, strategies and organizational design, organizational science, help entrepreneurs scale new ventures? The broad question, but it's just a question that is worth addressing now, you see.